A plan to let Texas parents use tax dollars for private education moves closer to becoming law.
When you think about parents and having to make these decisions, this is going to provide one more option.
The heated debate in the Texas House, and what comes next as education savings account legislation moves forward at the Capitol. A Texas senator says he's ready to run for Texas Attorney General, but he's not the only Republican in the race.
You need to be a real lawyer in charge of that office with real experience, not just somebody burnishing their credentials.
We look closer at the candidates and why it could take more than $10 million to win. The Trump administration kills a $60 million grant for high-speed rail in Texas. But supporters say the project is still alive, why they believe losing the money is actually a good thing.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. Texas is one step closer to creating a program to let parents use tax dollars to help pay for private school. The Texas House gave final approval to a bill to create education savings accounts. Now the legislation appears to be on a fast track to reach Governor Abbott's desk. Protests at the Texas Capitol.
We need to fully fund public education.
We should be funding our public schools, not giving coupons to private school families.
Inside the House chamber, heated debate over whether to let parents use tax dollars to pay for private education. Education savings account legislation has died on this floor before, but Republicans worked to make sure this time was different, arguing an ESA will give parents more freedom over their child's education.
When you think about parents and having to make these decisions, this is going to provide one more option.
We don't need an $8 billion voucher.
House Democrats tried to put the decision in the hands of Texas voters, pushing an amendment calling for a referendum, a proposal Governor Greg Abbott does not support.
The last time I checked, this was still the people's house, not the governor's house.
State Representative James Tallarico called out the governor on the House floor, saying he threatened some Republicans to pass the bill.
Threatened to make their primary elections, quote, a bloodbath.
Concerned by your allegations.
Republican Mitch Little said he was never threatened and argued against the referendum, saying it would create a bad precedent.
If we're going to delegate our lawmaking authority directly to the people, why do we need to be here at all? Why don't we just do that with every bill?
That amendment, along with other Democratic efforts,
we're going to cap this pilot program,
failed to pass, and in the end, the House approved the ESA legislation. The program will cost $1 billion in the first year. The House made a significant change to how those funds would be distributed, putting a higher priority on low-income families. The Senate appears ready to accept those changes. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick posted on social media Friday, "I am recommending the Senate concur with Senate Bill 2, the largest school choice launch in American history." That could quickly get the bill to the governor, who's vowed to sign the legislation into law. We want to go a little deeper with our Capitol Bureau team, Adam Schwager and Dylan McKim. Thanks for being with us, guys.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So the Senate seems poised to send this to the governor. What happens after that? When could ESAs actually take effect?
Well, it's not going to be immediate, right? We know that the Comptroller's Office is responsible for actually operating this program, and it's going to take some time for them to actually set this up. We know a little bit of what they need to do that's laid out in this bill. They're going to have to find some vendors. So they'll have to go through that process of finding vendors to help them actually administrate this. There's also, finding out how to set up the applications for parents to apply to this program. What's that going to look like? As far as also promoting this, some of that $1 billion is actually carved out for funding the promotion of an ESA program. So what would that look like with radio broadcasts, TV broadcasts, maybe over the newspaper, online, things to get the word out so that people understand. When I spoke to Senator Brandon Creighton, who was the original author of SB 2, back in February when this passed out of the Senate, he told me that this will begin in the 2026-2027 school year. So we're about to enter next school year will be the 2025. So it won't be next school year, but the school year after that is when parents should start being on the lookout that this ESA program will be rolling out for the public.
Certainly a lot of setup required. Mm-hmm. Adam, you have reported on how the program would work. Who would be eligible for this ESA funding?
Yeah, I think that's the main two questions, right? Who would be eligible and how much money are they going to get? And right now, under the House's version of the bill that they passed, the way it works is there's 4 tiers in a list. So the first tier is students who have disabilities whose families make 500% or less of the federal poverty line. That's about $160,000 for a family of 4. Then that next priority is children whose families have 2 times less than the federal poverty line. Then you go for those in the middle of that 200% to 500% for that third tier. And then the fourth tier, if there's still money left over in the program, would open it up to everyone to be able to apply. And that House version looks like that's the one they're going to take, is on Friday, the Lieutenant Governor put on X that he is planning to advise the Senate to try to take that version of the bill and that priority.
So you two look pretty sharp after having covered 17 hours of debate, more than 17 hours. It started Wednesday morning with a debate over a school finance bill. Debate took several hours, but the bill passed with almost unanimous support. Adam, what are some of the big takeaways from that bill?
Yeah, a lot of people on both sides of the aisle were really excited about this bill. $7.7 billion in new funding for public schools. And this is new funding. They haven't received an increase since 2019. A lot of that was held up in the politics of getting these education savings accounts passed. It's a big deal. So one of the big amendments that was added on the floor that night was an expansion of funding full-day pre-K in the state of Texas. So that was something that Representative Diego Bernal, the vice chair Democrat on the House Education Committee, was very excited about. Other highlights included increasing the stipend for bilingual education for the first time in 40 years. So public school advocates, clearly they want more money, but as you saw, 144 out of the possible 150 votes, only 4 votes against in the House. People were very excited about this.
Yeah, the House really united over school funding, and that was not the case, though, with education savings accounts. Dylan, you reported on one contentious moment when Democrat James Tallarico accused the governor of threatening members before the vote. What happened there?
Yeah, we were prepared to hear a lot of contentious moments in this House debate, and Representative Tallarico really laid out on the House floor alleging that Governor Greg Abbott was threatening Republican House members to get this done and to pass SB 2. And if they didn't, then he alleged that the governor told them that he would veto all of the bills they passed, all the appropriations, and would make their primaries a, quote, bloodbath, is what Representative Tallarico said. Now, he didn't list any names on the House floor, of course, but after that bill passed, after hours and hours of that debating, Representative Jeff Berry, who's a Republican from the Houston area, his team put out a press release to highlight what actions that they had just took on Facebook, and it received over 130 comments, mostly very negative comments. A lot of them calling out saying, Representative Berry, I called you on Wednesday morning. Your team told me that you were against school choice. You were against this ESA program. You voted for it. What happened? And actually, very interesting, Representative Berry responded to some of these comments and even said, look, I'm not happy with the outcome of this, but it was the greater good. If I didn't do this, my bills, my appropriations, they would have been vetoed. They were at risk of being killed, is what he was saying. Kind of confirming what Representative Tallarico had said on the House floor. Now, we reached out to Berry's team to see if he would be willing to talk to us. We haven't heard back from him yet. We'll continue to keep trying to hear what kind of pressure he was facing. But we did reach out to the governor's team, and his office tells us that the governor did speak with a lot of Republican colleagues, but that he just encouraged them to vote for SB 2. So we've seen pressure from the governor before. We know he primaried some Republicans who in past sessions voted against school choice. So it's not unlikely that this happened. We'd like to learn more about what exactly those conversations were like with the governor and some of those Republican House members.
You say speak to, you say threaten.
Encourage, threaten, I guess they could be synonyms.
Right. All right. Well, thank you both so much for covering these very detailed issues. Certainly something very important. We'll continue watching in the coming weeks as the legislative session plays out.
Yeah.
The Trump administration kills a $60 million grant for high-speed rail in Texas, but find out why some people believe losing the grant could help the rail project stay on track. A Texas House committee calls for sanctions on an insurance company accused of hiring investigators to get information on customers. We examine the latest fallout from a heated hearing at the Capitol. The race is on. 2 Republicans now vying to become the next Texas Attorney General. We look closer at the candidates and how much campaign cash is already in play.